remind members that the meeting's been recorded, and I'd just like to open up with a karakia and ask Deli to do that. Everybody stand.
Po hihiri, po rarama, po e te whakaro, po e te tangata, po e te aroha, te po e here nei I a tātou, mauri ora ki a tātou, haumie, huie, tai ie. May clarity be yours, may understanding be yours, through reflection, through personal endeavour, through respect, the virtues which bind us as one, may we be filled with well-being, haumie, huie, tai ie.
Thank you. So welcome to those members who have come from outside from the community boards into our public forum. Yes, and to start, thank you. So I'd just like to start off with apologies. I've got a late apology from Len, who will be attending shortly. Any other apologies? No other apologies?
I clarify through chair executive.
Correct.
Correct.
So she will be an apology too.
She'll be an apology, yes, for lateness. She'll be coming on. Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Through the chair, she's with me, Elaine.
And just to confirm any leave of absence, I first will confirm that I will be on leave from the 13th of July till the end of July, returning in August. Anybody else?
Yep.
Are you going away, Deli?
Not until August.
Not till August, okay. Peter?
Yep, and I'm away. From the 3rd through to the 9th of July.
3rd to 9th of July, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Also lateness.
Yeah, you'd like to move, Rika, seconder. Martin, all in favour? Carried, thank you. Public forum. We've got 2 speakers today in public forum, and I'll just remind that those speakers, we've got 5 minutes for Bruce, and we've extended a little bit of time for Paul from Katuna. Is he here?
He's online.
Online, thank you. Bruce, if I'd like you to first come forward and welcome.
Morning, councillors, and good morning. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Ngārumu Bay Water Society as the chairman of that society is currently overseas. I'm a member of the Ngārumu Bay Water Society committee. The Thames Community Board have agreed to grant an easement to the Ngārumu Bay Water Society over Lot 7 DP 33767. This easement is over the existing water pipeline currently within this lot. Lot 7 is an L-shaped parcel of land in Pātui Avenue at Ngārumu Bay, and is one section or one part of the Society's water reticulation network. This lot is only 256 square metres in area. The agreement for the easement is gratefully accepted by the Society, but it's come with a requirement to pay $1,000 plus GST for the easement right. This payment was explained to the Community Board by Council's Property and Facilities Manager as being only $17.85 per property, as there are 56 properties reticulated with the water. But in fact, it's actually $20.53 per property with the GST included. The full and actual cost should have been given to the board by the report author. There are several other reasons why I believe it's not reasonable to require this payment of $1,150. The Lot 7 DP 33767 was created in 1946 through the subdivision of residential lots Ngārumu Bay. The approved survey plan at that time has the notation drainage way on Lot 7, clearly being noted as a parcel of land to be used for this purpose, as it only has a maximum width of 2.9 metres. Lot 7 contains a section of the existing water pipeline network. This has been the situation for several decades. The water is drawn from the Otahi stream and is used for residential purposes, as well as being available for firefighting with 3 fire hydrants within the network. Water is an essential utility service for health and safety reasons for a significant number of property owners in Ngārumu Bay. The existence of the water pipeline in lot 7 is not something that will preclude other uses being made of this land if council chooses to do so. The lot 7 goes between Hatui Avenue and Ngārumu Lane, and it could become a walkway. It's highly unlikely to be used as that, as there is another pathway about 50 metres down the road onto the reserve. But I believe this is not a comparable situation with an easement over this land. It's not comparable to a private building being sited on a public reserve, or a property having its vehicle access over public land, or even a utility building being located with a legal road. These are all situations that will enhance the value of the associated property or properties and should deservedly pay for this privilege of having an easement. The Society's proposed easement recognises the existing situation that will protect a valuable utility asset, enabling it to be maintained or replaced if necessary, something that may not happen if a third party becomes the owner of lot 7. Currently, the Society has an arguable case for existing use rights for the pipeline, but a legal mechanism such as an easement is needed to protect this asset in case council sells lot 7 to another party. Lot 7 is a fee simple title. It's not subject to the Reserves Act. There's no reserves classification. It's simply a title owned by council. A sale of the land need not be publicly notified. I believe that the community board did not take the above matters into consideration. The Society did not have the opportunity to talk to council's property and facilities manager before he drafted the report to the community board. The Society was certainly aware of the conditions that would be imposed with the granting of an easement. No, the Society was certainly unaware of the easement, of the conditions that would be imposed with the granting of the easement until I read the report on the community board agenda. Therefore, I respectfully request that the council agree to grant the easement, but remove the requirement for the Ngārumu Bay Water Society to pay a fee or charge for an easement over lot 7 DP 33767. Thank you for listening to me and your consideration of this matter.
Thank you, Bruce.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, points of clarification.
I'm not claiming or an easement.
I understand it's a one-off payment.
Any other questions for Bruce? Okay, some things to consider. Yeah, oh, sorry, yes, thank you.
Bruce, just to remind me, we talked about, when you came to community board, we talked about legal fees. Is there some legal fees that would be associated with creating the paperwork for the easement, and the society is absorbing those costs, yes?
Yeah, the easement would have to be drawn up by a solicitor and registered on the title, and those costs would be borne by the society, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Bruce. We'll
Thank
take
you.
that into consideration for sure. Okay, next we have Paul Cook from Kuatuna Dark Sky Community Board. Paul,
Present.
yeah, and a presentation's been circulated around the table. Can you hear us, Paul?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you well. You've got 10 minutes, Paul, so away you go. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Deputy Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I do realise the magnitude of the issues you have been confronted with over the last several months, so particularly appreciate the time you've allotted. I will try and use it quickly and efficiently. If we can move on to the second slide, the agenda. The map there shows the area that we are looking to, we are initially applying for as a dark sky community. It's basically the area of least light on the peninsula, i.e. it excludes Matarangi and Wharekau. But once the community is established, we would hope to extend the area as basically both the local communities and public lighting allow. Initially, we've talked about the extension, and there's really no particular limit to what we can do, provided we get things organised as we go along. So today, what I'd like to do is just to quickly explain the what, why, and how of the dark sky community, and give an update on progress to date. And look, I will also mention a couple of areas where we need your support. So I'm happy to take questions at the end, but please feel free to interrupt at any time if that's an easier way to deal with anything that you have. So look, just before we start, a few definitions. It's not really technical, this stuff, but I have found myself, since I've been involved, getting to grips with a few things like light pollution, which is light spilling upwards basically, or being shone anywhere it's not really needed. Sky brightness measurements, and I'm pleased to say that we have fantastic quality of sky brightness on the peninsula. The regulations, there are obviously policies and rules in the district plan around lighting, and probably one of the things that we are understanding a bit more about is the light colour temperature. And the key number here is 3000 kelvins, which is the standard that the International Dark Sky Association set for public lighting. Currently, our street lights are 4000 kelvins. So moving on to the next slide, what is the community? The International Dark Sky Places program was established in 2001. It's really the only game in town in respect of dark skies certification. There are different categories of area, and we've chosen to apply under the community banner. We think that's the most appropriate for the area. It's probably the easiest to achieve and to extend. And it doesn't compromise any of the benefits that we can gain either. You'll see there are 201 dark sky places in the world, so this is a pretty exclusive club. A few in New Zealand. We hope to be the first community in New Zealand, which will give us some nice publicity if we can achieve that. The why is obviously important. It's not just to keep a few amateur astronomers happy, although they certainly will be happy. While we all enjoy looking at the night sky, there really are some genuine environmental and health benefits that can be achieved by preserving it for humans, animals, insects, obviously. And it's probably interesting to note that light pollution is currently spreading faster around the world than any other form of pollution. And I'm quoting a fact here, I assume that includes plastic. In New Zealand, it's increasing at 3.5% per annum, which means over the last 10 years, we've had a 40% increase in light pollution. What that means, for a typical night sky, somebody born today who could see 250 stars will be able to see 100 stars by the time they're 18. So this, as with all of these boiling frog type effects, which we are increasingly used to, this is something that creeps up on us but has a pretty huge effect. Importantly, there are some significant economic benefits available as well. The other areas that have been established in New Zealand have shown typically 15% increase in visitor numbers and the establishment of multiple new businesses. And there's a particular opportunity for iwi-led businesses, and which I think is a particularly strong opportunity in our area, given the historical activity and associations we have. It's also good business. It's sustainable. It's all year round. It's low impact, and it's complementary to other tourism activities. So if we move along to how are we looking to do this? We've got 3 streams basically running. We've had a formal project underway for some time. It's now under the responsibility of the Kotunu Dark Sky Trust, which has been established. And just an important point, I think, particularly for elected members, most of the private lighting is already compliant. This is not going to have a huge impact on individuals in the area. We really don't expect any significant concerns, and the requirements are pretty straightforward. It's not too bright, not too blue, and point it downwards. And that's a mantra you might hear us repeating reasonably regularly going forward. In terms of how those streams are progressing, we have, I think, some draft district plan provisions in a proposed private plan change, which are going for discussion to the council planner this week. We're also running them past the IDA to make sure that they're okay, and we would hope to have that presented to council sometime in July and August. We're also drafting a policy, and there are some aspects which the IDA need which can't sensibly be covered in district plan regulations, which is primarily a commitment from the council to recognise and support and implement the new the change provisions. So it's not anything of significance, but we are drafting something which we're proposing will be appropriate. And I come back again, that key thing, the only issue we have at this stage is working out how we get there are 7 council-owned streetlights in the proposed area, and we need to work out how to get those reduced from 4,000 Kelvin to 3,000 Kelvin and what the costs are, and obviously how those costs will be met. In terms of the community support, and that's a key part of the whole IDA process. We've had our 4th public event is scheduled for Matariki weekend this in a few weeks' time. We had over 100 people attending at an Easter event at Apito. We had over 70 people attend at our first Matariki event last year at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we're pretty comfortable that we're getting some good support from the community. I think that's a great indication when you can get up at that time of the day. So and we've had great support from the local press. We have got a website up and running, as you can see there, in a Facebook program. We've got, I think, 120 members on our Facebook group. So we're very comfortable that we have strong support from the community. Moving forward onto the next slide, the issues slide. First, I'd like to say we've had fantastic support from council staff, and I will call out Heather Bruce and Bruce Baker on this. They've really been tremendous in working with the consultants and responding to all of our questions, and so we thank them, and the community boards and the Mercury Bay councillors as well have all been great, and that we recognise that councillors need to observe probity in terms of discussing the private plan change. So we're not looking for any comment on that at this stage. That will go through the normal process. We do have excellent support from Ngāti Hei. Joe Davis is part of the working group and has been fully involved in the process to date. We are looking to get him on as a trustee of the trust, and he's thinking about that at the moment. So I think the longer term issue, I think, if we do try and extend the area, will be that lighting across the broader peninsula, but that's not something that we need to deal with at this stage. So look, really, that's it. If I say we do need you, absolutely need your support. The policy statement, which we will have to you very shortly, is really pretty straightforward in terms of saying yes, you will endorse and support the regulations. I think what we've had so far in terms of that vocal public support and demonstrated support from people attending our meetings and our presentations is tremendous. We have had significant consultation with stakeholders already, but we certainly are looking to extend that further and to keep extending that into businesses and into schools. And at some point, we will be asking you for a letter of support, which we can include in our IDA application. But look, that's pretty much it from me. Hopefully, I've kept within my time. Happy to answer any questions that anybody has, of course.
Paul, thank you. Len Salt here, and apologies for my lateness. Thank you very much. I know that there are some questions from councillors. We'll start with Peter, please.
Thanks. Paul, you mentioned, I think it was 70 lights that need to be changed from 4,000 Kelvin to 3,000 Kelvin.
Yeah, 7.
Sorry?
7.
7 lights.
7. Okay.
7.
What other areas of cost are you expecting there could be the council in this overall project?
We don't think there are any significant costs other than the normal costs associated with processing a private plan change. So I guess there are some consultation costs and activities around that. That is at this stage that's the only other actual cost that we've been able to identify, and we are going through significant pre-consultation, so we're hopeful that stage of the process will be pretty straightforward. If there's anything else that we can do to support or minimise those costs, obviously we're very happy to hear any suggestions.
Thank you, Paul. John Grant.
Thanks. I just have a few questions for the sake of some clarification and just feeding off the last question. The DP changes that you're seeking, would you be expecting that to be retrospective to the existing people as well, so that they would have to comply with those changes?
Yeah, no, there's a period of 10 years to achieve compliance. So that's which, and as I say, in terms of the public lighting at this stage really is the street lights. We don't think in the initial area there's any other public lighting of any significance. In the broader area, there are illuminated signs, sports fields, and that sort of thing, which would need to be looked at. But within the initial area that we're looking for, we don't see any public lighting other than street lights. And for the private lighting perspective, there are some people who have exterior lights on their homes which point upwards, and literally that will be a case of working with those people for a stages of communication. We have done a lot of communication already, but we'll continue to do that, just to explain that we would really appreciate some shielding and some pointing downwards, and you've got 10 years to do it. So yes, it applies to existing lighting, but there are 10 years to bring it into standard.
Okay. The other questions that I have, I'd just like to understand without a huge amount of time, but just an explanation around the economic benefits that you see from this. Can you just talk about what expectations there would be for the Coromandel from the tourism opportunity? And also a brief comment around the support from the local resident and ratepayers as well. Are they on board and happy with this proposal?
Yeah, if I can do the second one first, because that's quicker and easier. The ratepayer associations are absolutely on board. We have just literally last week, as part of our process of the IDA application, requested formal letters of support from each of the ratepayer organisations in the impacted area. They are all represented on the working group, which initiated this activity. So we're very confident that we have the full support from ratepayer associations. And as I say, that is absolutely borne out by events and the attendance at events in both Apito and Kotunu. In terms of the economic benefits, look, I quote it, and I'm sorry, you pull these facts out, I know, and it's easy to dump a fact and hope that everybody accepts it. That 15% figure is pretty robust in terms of increase in visitors. in the other areas. I think we have got some really significant, unique differences here. If this goes ahead, then along with Great Barrier, we will be the closest place to Auckland which has the night sky certification. So I think, I'm sure you've all heard of Tekapo, which really bases its entire tourist offering on that. But we will be the closest place to Auckland. So there's a fantastic opportunity there. I think that when you look at the history of this area, that we have early, the Maori navigators who, you know, the early settlement here, the astronomical knowledge that they used, and then you lay that alongside the transit of Mercury, the transit of Venus, which were Cook's initial voyages. We have some fantastic history and some fantastic cultural opportunities. And Joe Davis, you know, as soon as we started talking about this, Joe Davis said, well, we've really got to get that historical and cultural aspect to the fore. And if you take a moment to look at the Tekapo websites, you'll see that there's a complete separate tourist offering that they have, which is built around the Maori astronomy knowledge and taking that through. So we do see that we have that a combination of the proximity to Auckland and which obviously just makes it easy for people to get here, plus that really special historical and cultural stuff. We think this is going to have a great impact. And look, it's counter-seasonal, as I understand it. And I am not an astronomer myself. I'm learning a little bit more. I can name 1 or 2 stars these days. But as I understand it, viewing is actually better in the winter. So literally, this is a great counter-seasonal offering as well. Is that give enough backup?
That's fine. Yeah, no, thanks. But I'd like to talk some more sometime, but that's fine for this.
Paul, thank you. We've got a couple more questions from Martin and then from Reka, please.
Good morning, Paul. I just wanted to check with you. We have the areas in your presentation that have currently got dark sky status. Do you know when their processes for getting their district plan changes done? Were they fairly smooth? There wasn't a whole lot of issues and people protesting or council submission or anything?
No, we haven't. And the consultants we're using worked with the Wairarapa Carterton Council. The difference there was that change was initiated by the council. It wasn't a private plan change. It was initiated by the council. But we've got exactly the same consultants working with us. So we obviously chose them for that particular capability, and they've certainly brought some great experience and knowledge to the table. And we just haven't seen any issues so far. As I said, the one that we've had is we need to understand what the costs of changing those streetlights is, and you know we are. We've requested further information from Ed Varley on that, so that we can help to get some clarity. So obviously you guys need to know what those costs are. But no, we haven't seen. We haven't seen any challenges or any issues. And in fact, Waka Kotahi, who also have some streetlights in the area, we are talking to them, and they've been tremendously supportive in the other areas that they have dealt with so far in terms of upgrading their streetlights, and so we're hopeful that we'll get the same level of support from them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And one more question from Rick. Oh, no, already covered. Paul, thank you so much. There's no doubt. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, Paul, I've been interested in this, and I somehow or other got onto the website, sending me all the stuff online, and so I'll forward it on to you. It really talks about solar lighting for this type of thing and all other aspects. So they keep sending me information. I think it's better to go to you.
Okay. All right, we're good. Paul, thank you. Fair to say that there's a fair bit of excitement in our council about the work that you're doing, and a great deal of appreciation. Good work. And thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Good luck.
thank you very much for the time today and look, good luck with all the stuff that you're dealing with. Great job so far.
Many thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Could I get a mover and a seconder, please?
Second.
Delhi and Rika, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you everyone for bearing with us. Our apologies for being late, and thank you Terry for stepping in. I might ask just at the moment if you can share the announcement, the good news. Good.
Okay, so good news. Hang on, let me just check it's public. Yes, it is.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay.
So 25A to reopen by the end of March 2024.
Well, it's good news. So we have a date. So,
But there's a whole load more information, and I think there's slippage both earlier and later, depending on design and so on. That's still waiting through. March, end of March.
End of March, it's beach hop.
yes.
Okay.
So
I can
We've been up-
circulate that. to- I want that meeting released.
yes, really. So that we've been up to the blessing this morning. It was a very, very moving ceremony and really nice to get that underway. So anyway, small departure from the agenda. Please bear with me on that.
And just a quick note that Easter is the end of March.
End of
Easter Sunday is the 31st, so it'd be absolutely amazing if that did hit before Easter.
If that was open for that holiday period.
Yeah.
Morena, John, nice to have you with us.
Morning, thanks, Your Worship.
Conflicts of interest, any conflicts of interest to declare? There being none, items not on the agenda? There being none, we'll go to item 1.5, minutes for receiving and confirmation. I would like to, we've got a big agenda today and a lot to get through, so I would like to work through these in blocks, please. You've all been through the minutes. And so we will do.
Through the chair, I just would like to point out that I sent correspondence yesterday regarding the 10th of May Thames Community Board minutes, and if that can be received
Yes.
and accepted, thank you.
So we'll do item 1 first, please. Receive the minutes for 9th of June.
So just receiving the report through the chair.
So mover and seconder to receive the report, please. Terry and John, thank you. All those in favour? Aye. And then we need to do item 2, which is the Thames Community Board meeting. So we'll do item 2, which is all of those, including Thames. Have you got the amended,
Yes.
the sort of included minutes now? So we'll do item 2, which is Thames, Coromandel, Polwall, Mercury Bay and Tairua Pāwanui. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Kelly and Terry, all those in favour? Aye. Thank you. We need to do item 3, which is the Thames Coromandel District Council. This is our council meetings for 16th of May and 17th and 18th of May, council deliberations. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Terry, Peter and John Grant. Thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Those against? That is carried. Thank you. Item 4, which is Mercury Bay Community Board recommendation. You've all read item 4, so we'll take that as a block. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Yeah, and Ellie, thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Carried, thank you. And we've got, these are Thames Community Board recommendations. We'll take those as item 3, please. And could I get a mover and a seconder for item 3, please?
Happy to move.
Somebody from Thames? All right. So we'll take Martin and you reading through it.
Share your screen. So
Do you want to share the screen?
through the chair, we'll share on the screen.
Okay,
Because this is the new one.
this is the new one. Okay, sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
realise this. So that something that might not have been on the agendas before.
Correct.
All right, my apologies. So I'm just giving members a minute to read through that and make sure everyone's fully informed and comfortable with it. These are all items that were part of the Thames Community Board meeting.
Correct.
Any discussion?
The team's happy to move these following the meeting this morning or the public forums for Bruce. Is there an issue over that or not?
Our community board resolved to approve it, so.
I'm happy to move.
So Councillor Rebel move it.
Through the chair, we do have a mover and
We've
second,
got
so
a mover and a second.
just put
Okay.
the
So
motion.
put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. That's carried. Okay, item 2.1, March revision. So this is the budget revisions for March, 15th of March. Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder to receive this? Terry and Rebecca. Welcome Hayden, who's just had some surgery on his knee, and Donna. Welcome.
I'll take the report as read. I suppose the two areas within it that have really impacted this financial year have been the appreciations, which we bought previous meetings, and the storm damage, which have a result of Gabrielle. And there's a little table there that shows that of our other expenses, 9.5 million of it is related to the storm damage that we've suffered. The one thing with that is of that 9.5 million, 5 million of it is actually funded by Waka. So it's $4.5 million act that we will have to sort of fund. And I guess the other thing with it is that's the best estimate around in terms of timing. It might not necessarily happen this financial year. I mean, I think we were probably optimistic that the weather might improve. It really hasn't improved it. And so a lot of that storm damage work is sort of still really happening and it'll probably drag into next year. I would suspect.
Okay, thank you. Hayden, Donna, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
And just through the chair, I just tried to want to explain with the March budget revision, we normally bring this to an earlier meeting rather than the meeting at the end of the financial year. With everything that went on with the storm damage and the work that the teams have had and been impacted by, the revision was one of the things that I agreed with the team that they could be late with. So that's why it is coming to you late for approval.
Thank you, that helps.
Clarify that.
Okay. Okay, any further questions or discussion? Okay, there being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Okay, we're going to item 2.2. Which is adoption of the annual plan.
Yeah.
Where's Donna gone? He's coming. Okay,
Kia ora.
Morena. Okay. All right, could I get a mover and a seconder to receive this, please? Sally and John, thank you. All right, so
Just as we head into this, I sent an email around explaining how we locked the financials down in mid-May after the last deliberations. Since then, we have quite a few changes. We have ups and downs I think they roughly balance out, and another announcement last Friday of another $900,000 from DIA, so that's 450K over 2 years. So with the funding coming in and the funding that we'd underpitched, we're about even. And as Donna keeps saying to me, it's only a plan, and a plan is always wrong. We just don't know by how much. So I guess we're just acknowledging there have been changes since the 16th of May, but they won't be reflected in the document because we simply wouldn't have time to rerun the financials. And as we move into this financial year, we're expecting other funding announcements. So this annual plan, I guess, is probably one that we're, if there's any annual plan where we're going to be different to the plan, it's this year.
Thank you.
And I'll hand over to the team.
Okay. Hayden and Donna, anything that you want to add to that?
Probably from me through the chair, what I would like to do, I mean, I can do it now when we're looking at the resolutions. I'd just like to explain and walk council through the resolutions, especially for those that are new, to actually understand, what we, the order of things and why we're putting these resolutions up. I'm happy to do that now.
Please.
Okay.
That's okay with, yep.
If you go to I think it's page 53, which is suggested resolutions, you recall that over the course of developing the annual plan, there have been several workshops and council meetings, also through the audit, the risk and assurance committee. We talked and put some papers forward about the depreciation. So that went through the committee and then through council for approval. So we don't need a resolution today to say that we're not going to fund that depreciation, but there were some other things that did go through that we hadn't actually had a resolution for from the deliberations report and meetings. So what I'd like to do is a resolution 2, 3 and 4 are actually acknowledging those decisions that were made at the deliberations meeting to help reduce the rate. And so that's why these resolutions are in here, so that council can formalise those before we actually adopt the annual report.
Thank you.
Annual plan, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, so let's as Donna suggests, let's work through these 2, 3 and 4. So 2 is applying retained earnings, 50% of retained earnings, and the breakdown is done there by ward. Can we just work on that one first? These have already, we've discussed these at length in the deliberations. Is there any further discussion on item 2? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? I didn't need a separate mover and a seconder for that motion, did I?
Through the chair.
For item 2.
Well, okay, so you only had one for the receiving?
Yes, I did, just for that.
Okay, yes, probably better.
Okay, so my apologies. So I need a mover and a seconder, please, for item 2, which is the retained earnings resolution. So Robin and Peter, thank you. And I'll put the motion again, just to be clear. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Item is carried. Thank you. Item 3, the Power New Zealand Reserve. Everyone understands this. Do we need any further discussion on that? I'll put the motion. Could I get a mover and a seconder, please? Terry and Reka. All those in favour?
Aye.
Terry, thank you. Let's go to item 4. Did you need anything? Did you need to give us any more detail on this, or are we okay on this one? This is the Thames Spatial Plan project, 4,000 by a 10-year district funded loan.
Yes, so through the chair, that was discussed and through the deliberations meeting as well.
Yep, so we've gone through that. So mover and a seconder for that, Peter and Robin, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 5, schedule of fees and charges, fairly lengthy and detailed document. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Delhi and Robin, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried, thank you. Item 6, the annual plan. Can I get a mover and a seconder to receive, please, for this item? Thank you, Terry and Martin. All right, any further discussion?
Yes,
Yes,
you probably see
Terry?
running around in circles about where does the funding come for consultants? And I have to say, I've looked at what you've sent me and I get back to the times of John Key. A couple of his ministers said, if the cleaner can't understand it, I don't want to read it. Now, I'm struggling to follow the aspect of where the funding and delegated authority comes from, because I then looked at the storm thing and they clearly weren't in that. And then I printed out the other ones, but I actually probably need a little bit more education. As you probably know, I like that article I sent you from the listener. I have concerns, and I know I've been discussing it with City Council. They are looking very clearly at that and have big concerns that there's going to be dramatic changes in the City Council. And it just seems to me that it's the time to look, see how we can save money, assist staff, and I'd be more than happy to have consultation from an expert in AI, because I think this could make staff life so much easier. I know people who are using it and they just say, until you use it, you don't know how good it is. And I think with our computer systems and that, it could be very good. So I simply raise that. I think it's a lot of money to spend. I should say that in my 53 odd years, I've used experts all the time. Some of the consultants we use are not by definition experts. If you look at the High Court rules on experts, they would never even get past Tickbox. And I just am concerned we are spending so much money on this and cutting back on community boards. So I've said my little bit. Anyone can add to assist in my understanding, I'd be grateful. I'd also like to save council spending money.
Thank you, Councillor Gottlieb. I'm going to suggest that what you've highlighted is a relevant concern and it needs probably a bit more work and investigation. And that is something that I think Aileen and her team have already identified that they would like to do some more work on that. Now's probably not the time because we've done 2 days of deliberation to get to sign off on it and adopt the annual plan. But they are relevant concerns. They have
because I think everyone wants to save money, and I want the staff's lives to be easier. Because I talked to son-in-law, he's using it for his 30 staff. They cannot believe how much more efficient they are and how much time it's saving them. And I really think that would be very money well spent to see how it could help our council specifically. Because that's all I want to do is make it easier for staff to be able to do their job. Not have a hopeless stress that does go behind it. That's what I'm trying to do.
Thank you, Councillor Gottlieb. Much appreciated. Martin?
So would it be true to say that for some of the consultants?
Sorry, I'm going to step in there because I don't think it's appropriate to have a discussion and a debate around consultants. What I've done is acknowledged Councillor Gottlieb's concerns, and it has been flagged as a separate piece of work, but I don't think it's appropriate to have discussion specifically around consultants, unless it's something you just like noted as part of our annual plan. So I'll just put that out there and ask you just to carry on if you think it's appropriate.
I guess I would say a statement around the fact that some of these consultants, particularly for contracts and other issues, it's pretty much a requirement to have an outside group helping, and in some cases there would be projects that we wouldn't be progressing if we hadn't had those help because of staff, because lack of staff resource. But I did just want to check, not about contractors, the 200K for the sustainability resilience group. So is that the one that was in the budget for the year ending in a couple of days? Is that carried over, and is 200K in the annual plan for next year? I mean, it might be hidden in there somewhere that I couldn't see.
Yeah, so through the chair, it's not specifically, you won't see it in there specifically as 200K as an operational budget, so it will be included in the, just in that, the other expenses line in the, there, but it is definitely, I can confirm that the salary is part of that 200K was for salary for, support for that group. And then the other part of it is also sitting in, some of the contract planning budget lines.
Right, and for the year that we're still in, is that, I don't know how much of that 200K was spent of any, is that carried forward or is that just go off into it?
That will go into return earnings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
Two things. Firstly, could I just say I'm pleased to hear you say that there's a body of work that's going to be done that will look at this area around consultants. I think figuring out what we want to look at is going to be critical. So that that'll be the first thing. I think what is it we actually want to look at? What are the questions we want to have answered? So just support me. The second thing, before we do sign off the plan, on page 151, this statement of cash flows. Just a minor thing, but I think we're missing on the second blue line running across cash flows from financing activities. I think there should be cash flows from investing activities, not financing activities. Financing activities is actually further down.
Okay, so repeat it. Oh, okay, yep. Oh, yes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Good pick.
That was
Good.
great,
pick.
Scott.
Well done.
And there's several typos that need fixing, but don't worry about the typo.
Okay. Did everyone hear that?
Yeah.
Aileen's just said there's a couple of other bits and pieces need to be fixed. Was that everything, Peter? Was okay. And Rebecca, thank you.
Just a couple of questions. The first relates to 134, which was the inland documents. We talk about Matarangi open space land purchase. And it talks about $2 million figure, which I'm not sure that I've heard before. Certainly $1 million locally funded. And I'm pretty confident that was not the amount.
So through the chair, so to that question. These are on this page here, 134, it's talking about key changes from that long-term plan. So if you look back in the long-term plan originally, that's what was budgeted for Matarangi. And then obviously since that long-term plan, it had moved on and it had gone from 2 million to 1.2 or something like that. So
Annual plan.
in the annual plan.
Right.
Yeah, so this is highlighting the key changes to the long-term plan. So
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And maybe, I'm not sure in that line above, we need to say main changes proposed from the LTP or something like that. The other comment I'd have on this is that that hyperlink that's there is really messy. And if we were going to send people to a document, maybe is there a way we can tidy that up? Again, that's just tricky for a printed document. So that was my comment on Matarangi. And I did have a question on 106, I think it is, which district solid waste. I see that there's no funds in there for the refuge centre station in Pajana. And my understanding is some money, we haven't spent all of our money in our current.
Well, I guess the really quick answer is report coming to in August, it will deal with everything. So that's the really quick answer.
Yeah.
Is there a longer answer?
So through the chair, not really, that is the answer. We've had two current project under review. We are working away on options and costs. We'll come back in August to council with some options on how to proceed based on costs, timing, those types of things. So not to preempt those options, but we'll come back in August and council can make a call at that stage. So potentially, rather than holding on to the budget that we don't actually know if that's right or not, a cleaner way is to bring that report back, and then decisions, like I say, around timing could be made. So that could be an out of cycle budget in this 23-24 year. It could be deferred to the LTP. It could be stop everything, don't do anything. Just a range of options that could be available.
So there will be no money sitting earmarked to this project from the 1st of July. We will wait till an August report and then go forward from there.
Can I just add to Rebecca's question? Is there work, some site work carrying on at the moment?
No, everything's on pause while we're doing the review. So we have done work on site. So typically you wouldn't hold on to an amount in there that actually doesn't refer to anything. We've got the whole project under review. So rather than hold, and I can't recall off the top of my head what that amount was, but say it was 550. Rather than holding on to 550 and actually the budget or the requirement and one of the options has nothing to do with that 550. The reason we would do that, you bring it back in an out of cycle report, which is clean and brings everything, all the options on the table and gives councillors the option to make decisions.
So it says in the document, this is deferred to the 34 LTP. So it may not be that we have to wait until this time next year.
Correct. Yeah, so the paper that comes back to the council will have options around the timing, as I say, and so that council always has the option to bring them forward to decide when they want something to happen. So we'll be presenting those options to council members.
So through the chair, as elected by council, I find it very disappointing because effectively we've created an expectation and had work already needs on this. We've now put the project on hold, and effectively now we will have to go back and advise people we have no funding for this project. And if there was to be any more work done on it, it will have to go to either the long-term plan, which will not be effective until 2024, or we'll have to do a special funding in the next 12 months. So it just sort of feels very much as if we have canned the project almost.
So through the chair, we definitely have canned the project and it is under review. As we mentioned, I think we've been clear about it. We talked about it at deliberation as well. So there wasn't any budget sitting in there as part of the stuff that was presented for deliberations. But it wasn't, it's something like a change that's happened since the 2 days of deliberations.
I share your frustration and
Extreme discomfort.
extreme discomfort. However, I think we are where we are, and we've got to go forward and let the staff do their work in August. And then as a council, we have to make some fairly hard decisions about where we go from here. And it's starting to feel like if we're going to move this forward in this next financial year, it is going to be an out of cycle budget request that we as a council have to make a decision on, and it's not going to be an easy one. But there's not much now we can do until we get that information in August. Otherwise, we're speculating.
Through the chair, can I just clarify what requirements there are for an out of cycle budget to be approved?
So my understanding is once we get the information from staff and the recommendations, then there will be a series of options with some budget attached. And we as a council then have to make a decision as to whether we are prepared to accept that and the implications on the rating or whether it's funded. What options are we likely to be faced with? at
Not
that
sure
time?
at this stage, but there's always options around scope. So how big is the project? And then once you decide what the scope is, how you fund it, whether, and we look to Donna for that, and potentially whether there's any grant funding available as well. So the funding split, how it's funded, all of those would be options in front of council.
Or stage things, and
stage.
it's frustrating. It is, and you all know my feelings around this. I want to see this project happen. It's frustrating, but I think we're just in a situation where we've got to wait until we've got information upon which we can make decisions, and we don't have that yet.
Chair, isn't there risk around, Waihi Tukurua, the group that went to MFA funding and that potentially they have already or in the process of losing that funding because this project has been delayed? So there was money sitting.
That is a really good point, and we, before October last year, Waihi Tukurua got very, very close to losing that funding for this very reason, delays. My understanding is that they've gone a few steps further down the track and managed to secure some of that funding, but I don't know for sure. Have you?
So through the chair, my team will figure that group, but we also work with MFB and as BLE points out back last year, you know, I was directing with MFE to make sure they could secure that funding and giving them that certainty and surety. So my team do keep in touch, so I'm actually comfortable and relaxed that they're not going to lose that funding. The area we've allocated for their facility, that's something that can go ahead. That'll be in the August paper as well to council about accelerating that and keeping that moving as an option. So yes, I'm comfortable with that. The other thing I would say is just going back to the budget is that the challenges, and we can always, you know, look back and do things better, but the challenges around expectations, if we include a budget in the annual plan that actually might not actually refer or mean anything because we're currently going through all those reviews, there's a real challenge in setting up that expectation. There's a number that we've locked into the annual plan, which it looks like this is what it's going to cost, and then we're trying to bring a paper back in August to then try and unwind all that, and we've created an expectation in the document with the public. So, and in my experience, that's happened previously years ago, and it's not the best way to go. The best way is to keep it clean and just have it all contained in the report. All the options, as Aileen said, around staging, scope, financing. You know, we work with the finance team on that stuff. So you have a complete package in there for any decision that you made is based on all the information that will be in that report.
Frustrating. We're all keen to see this go, and it is disappointing that it's dragged on this long, but I think that's the reality of what we're faced with. So August.
Just a third question. There has been an investigation, I understand, into the background as to what has taken place here. When is that report to be tabled?
So with the first report we're going to bring is around the go forward on the actual project. And then, but just because of the timing, we've got a report coming through to risk and assurance because the report does raise issues about projects generally. So we're going to put it through the risk and assurance lens to work out what approach we might take to it. So we're still forming up that approach at the moment.
Would there be an expectation that would be the next risk and assurance meeting?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, because we've got a gap. We've got no meetings in July, then council, and then risk and assurance.
So we'll be at that August council meeting that will see the go forward plan.
Through the June and September for risk and assurance.
September is under
August. Yes.
Thank you. That's a good question, Councillor Grant. We look forward to getting that information, and I do appreciate that there's a lot of work needs to go in behind that. And from where I sit, I'm happy to let Aileen and her team, or give them the space to do that work, and there's some hard questions need to be asked, and that work is going on. So looking forward to getting that. Thank you. Kate, did you have anything that you wanted to contribute, or are you happy just to take any further
thank you. Through the chair, I didn't have anything further to add other than those minor editorial changes in resolution 7. Thank you to those who have picked up a couple already today, and we have identified some others just around improving readability. They're all very minor to date, which is great. That was all. Thank you.
Martin and Peter, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to, at the bottom of page 187, from the bottom, can you just remind me about the Whitianga water meters unbundling? Is that separate from the Whitianga being charged for water? The meters, is the unbundling separating out different properties?
So through the chair, the unbundling refers to principally apartments and like townhouse type developments that we have a number of in Whitianga, and previously there was no requirement for individual metering of properties. So what you often have is one supply that goes into the building and then runs off all the properties. Now, if we want a meter and charge per unit, you then have to separate them all out and give them an individual meter, manifold, and all the rest of it. So there's quite a bit of work around that. So there's a number of properties in Whitianga that refers to. So we can see what that done, but
and is that separate from when Whitianga starts to be charged for water?
So again, sorry.
Is that a separate issue or part of when you put around when you start to be charged through the meters?
So there's a pretty clear as part of it, as far as if you don't have it separated out, then you have to leave those properties on the current charge, which was just a charge, a fixed fee for the year, not a metered rate. Because obviously you can't start breaking it down per meter if you've got 20 units and one person's using part of the water and one person's using the honey. So
There was always going to be a delay between this and charging. I think it's 2 years or something. So that allows time for that process to happen. So, Peter, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did have a question. In the board on page 11, at the top of the page there, the financial performance disclosures. So just a question on education. Why the big delta between the forecast borrowings for the annual plan versus what was in the long-term plan?
Through this year, a lot of it's around capital delivery. So, we haven't delivered as much what we planned to in our capital program. So we haven't had to borrow as.
But we're still planning to deliver 50 million.
Oh. 50 million, but like each year we've been under delivering. So our borrowings haven't.
So since the beginning of the long-term plan,
year one,
Okay, any further questions? I'll put the motion to adopt.
Have we done 7?
Through the chair, we have not done 7 yet.
So
Through the chair, we're just going to motion for that.
put the motion for 6. Hang on, let me get to my right page. So we're on item 6. No, we haven't done 6. We've done a mover and a seconder, but we haven't adopted the annual plan
We
yet.
haven't put the motion.
We haven't put the motion, so we've got a mover and a, so we're putting the motion to adopt 23-24 annual plan. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried. And the last one, item 7, delegates approval to Chief Executive to make minor editorial changes. Can I get a mover and a seconder, Robin and Delly? Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
I would like to pause for a moment to thank the staff and the councillors and all of the team. This is our first, as this council, our first annual plan. A big task to get this over the line, a lot of work gone in, and I just want to take a moment to say thank you and congratulate everybody concerned. So,
I just want to echo those thoughts. I think it's a first plan for you as new mayor, and only that they can see. So But the effort the council put into this, it's been quite a difficult plan and a lot of discussion, robust discussion. But also thanks to staff for the support around that, giving us those opportunities. And it's a special day, and that's why I'm wearing my tie today. Annual plans are really important because this is what we're here for. And this is the day that we pass this plan over to operations to execute. So I think it's an important moment. And thank everybody for your input. So thank you.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Aileen and the team. Good work. Good work. All right. Okay, where are we at for time?
We're doing really well.
We're doing
through the
really
chair.
well. Setting of rates. This is a complex piece of work. I'm not anticipating a huge amount of discussion on this because there's not a whole lot we can do. These are, once the work on this is done, and it's very detailed work, then we basically just move through it. So can I get a mover and a seconder, please, for item 2.3? And a seconder? Councillor Walker, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, say aye. Those against, the item is carried. Thank you.
Is that
accepting the report?
We
vote on the rates.
On the rates? Well, okay, so I'm happy to take any questions or discussion.
Well, I suppose my only misgiving here is when we talk of the target rate for solid waste. When the survey went out to people that indicated only, I think, $50, maybe $100. There was never an expectation it was going to be increased to this amount, and that's why I'm uncomfortable about it, because they were never. It was never signalled to them there was going to be such an increase on rates due to waste, and that's why I really am very uncomfortable in regard to the way that is increased. Whereas that I'm sure that if we'd actually known it was going to cost that much and been told it was that, they would have been very unhappy. I'm unhappy as well. So I think it is not safe.
Well, I just agree. This is something that we as a council inherited. And it appears to me as well, it wasn't an understanding when the decision was made by the previous council as to the impact it was going to have, cost impact it was going to have on ratepays. But we've then inherited that, and we're doing, I think, the best that we can do to, just working through with the community and to make it successful, because it's not successful.
Thank you, Councillor Gottlieb, and your concerns are noted. We did go through this extensively during deliberations. Any changes that are made in these formulas are the net effect of those are significant and would completely delay the process of moving forward with our annual plan. So this is we're locked in. We can't do anything on what we've got here. Did you have a comment?
I'll just, through the chair, just say that the rates are set as a result of decisions that were made during consultation, also during the deliberations, and I believe that the options did specifically say whether it was different funding options that were consulted on. It did actually say what the targeted rate would be in those options, so that has been made quite clear.
Thank you.
And I mean, in the draft annual plan consultation 2023 document, there were 3.5 pages about solid waste, which talked about costs going up, government levies, and factors.
My understanding was Councillor Gottlieb's question related to the original decision around waste management approach rather than the consultation that we've done in this particular document. I think we've done a good job consulting, letting people know what the changes with waste management, because that's what they are. But it was when the original decision was made seems to me there wasn't good understanding either amongst council or with the community that moving from, changing the whole approach was going to be as costly as it is.
Thank you. We've got, there will be a lot further or a lot more discussion around the way we manage solid waste outside of this forum as we move forward and as we go through the rest of the year. As we all know, we've got the waste minimisation document, and there'll be opportunities there to look again at the way we manage waste, not specifically on these rates, which we're locked in. We'll keep moving because we've got, I think, one more item to get through, and then we can take a break for morning tea. So we're going to move to item 2.4, which is deliberation on and adoption of the dangerous, affected and insanitary buildings policy. Terry move. It was seconded to receive. John, thank you. Is there any further discussion on this? Have we got somebody talking to this? Corrine and Brian, thank you. One submission. Interesting. I find this fascinating. Were there any? So I'll hand over to you. Was there anything that you wanted to add to the report that you've got in here?
No, through you, Mr. Chair. It's a statutory requirement. We've had a policy while the report lays out the history of that and also the numbers of we've issued since the last policy, which I think which is 28.
18.
And pretty much the policy is reflective of the legislation.
Any questions? So I just have one, and I'm sure you've been asked many times. Those properties that are clearly identified as potentially unsanitary and eyesores and things, does this go any way towards addressing solutions for those properties, or is that crossover so many agencies that it becomes very difficult to deal with?
Are you talking about visual amenity, like the ones that look run down with things in the yard?
Water houses, and yeah, I've got a few near where I used to live in Whitianga. We all know them.
This establishes our framework of working through any properties that are identified as being dangerous and unsanitary or affected properties.
Yeah. So it's a tool that we would look to on each situation. Quite often this is within a building, as opposed to the the surrounding environment. But it's certainly a tool that we would, when we get those complaints and we make an assessment, we'd look at RMA, we'd look at bylaws, and we'd look at the unsanitary policy.
If I could translate the question, I think the question is sort of what's the threshold for actually being dangerous and unsanitary, such that we can actually then take action.
Thank you.
The threshold, it's set out in legislation in the Building Act, whether it's unsafe for users of that building, causes a danger or poses a danger to the person.
So it can be hard to prove.
How bad does it have to be before this kicks in, is I think the question.
How bad? Well, we don't put a dangerous building notice or insanitary notice on lightly, so it has to actually be a proven issue.
For the situations that you referred to, Mr. Mayor, we probably haven't used this policy for that. The RMA or local bylaws would be more specific to the amenity issues from a property. If the unsanitary policy for the building have been used where it's unsafe to the occupants, weather tightness, no water, sanitary facilities, things like that, rather than the exterior.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just to confirm that it's more a health issue you pick up when it's sanitary rather than being filthy.
It would use that. It would use the Health Act, although that's pretty outdated. I think it's 1950s.
Yeah. For rates.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really, Martin.
So presumably this is completely separate from what the government might be considering shortly as far as areas that can't be relived in.
Completely separate.
Completely.
Yeah.
completely different, affected. Right, so they might still be affected, but it's covered under a different.
Yeah, that's more to do with natural hazards and what we'd be looking at through the RMA more than the building it.
Thank you. Any further questions? Rebecca?
Is someone going to go to the lady that submitted and have a chat to her?
Through the chair, that was Parks and Reserve we were actually responding to, because it was about a sports park.
Thank you.
Question. Thank you. Okay. If there being no further discussion or questions, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Through the chair, we do have.
To do her item.
Oh, okay. So before we break for morning tea, Ari's just informed me that for item 3.1, we have Nicole online. So since we're a little bit early, if you're happy to do it, we'll dial into Nicole and we'll deal with item 3.1 now. Kia ora, Nicole.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay, so item 3.1. Let me get to my right page here.
211.
Page 211. Okay. We'll take the report as read. Nicole, did you have anything that you wanted to add to this?
No, not at all, really. It's just been through the process and now it's just a final sign off by council so we can draw up and draft these leases and variations.
Fabulous. Thank you. Could I get a mover and a seconder to receive this, please, Terry and Gary? Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? This carries. Thank you, Nicole. That is very much appreciated. You can go and have a cup of tea now as well.
Thank you.
All right, we will take a break for a cup of tea and back here at 1:45. All right. 1:45. 1:45. Thank you.